celebrate the campaign that we have run this year, which has been objectively the strongest third-party campaign in my lifetime. And so we're extremely proud of the work that we have done. I do want to recognize that we brought almost our entire campaign team out here to Dearborn this year. And so over here, I just want to point out some people and have them raise their hand and hold your applause to the end. But this team has done a phenomenal amount of work in the last year. So I'm going to start with Dave Schwab there, who's been our comms director. Thank you, Dave. Elena Costa, raise your hand. This is all the wonderful graphics that you see are Elena's creations. Rick Last there, coming in from New Mexico, was the person who really headed up our ballot access drive. So knowing all the rules in all the states to get us on the ballot. Rick championed that. Brittany Turner, who is our deputy ballot access director and also helps us with financials. LeBeau Patino from Miami, who is actually on a lot of our state ballots, because the ballot access rules require that when we file our paperwork, we have to have a candidate to start with. So although he is not our vice presidential candidate, he is the name of the vice presidential candidate on many, because when we selected our candidate, Butch Ware, we were unable to swap that name out. So a lot of people will be voting for LeBeau here, but he's helped us with all sorts of tech stuff in the background. Michelle DeVilliers here, who's been Jill's personal assistant. Go ahead, Michelle, raise your hand. Stephen Scapoletti here, who has been our legal counsel, is actually up in Flint, came down to join us. Who we got? Okay, Betsy Avila, coming to us from Los Angeles, who is our social media director. So most of the stuff that you see getting posted on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter comes from Betsy. Rose here, who has worked in our fundraising department, along with Georgia Davenport, who could not make it out here, but Rose writes a lot of our fundraising emails. And who am I missing? I'm looking around the room. Oh, Justin right here, because he's not seated. This is our field director, Justin Piglino, who is also a Senate candidate in Connecticut. In the back is Nada Hassan, who is our administrative assistant. And I cannot say, and Nada is local to Dearborn, and I cannot say enough about Nada, because she is absolutely the glue that holds this thing all together. Like, she's more the campaign manager than I am, to tell you the truth. And right up here is Mark Elborno, who's a senior advisor, who also is a member of Abandon Harris in North Carolina, and has brought us together with so many people across the country. Mark's networks are just amazing. We were in Arizona last week, and he says, Mark says, I've got a cousin in Phoenix. And I was like, no kidding. And Ian Wademon right here, who has been traveling around the country with us, capturing video and photos. And so a lot of the stuff that we do for media comes from Ian's work also. Who am I missing? Oh, Kathy Gilbert sitting. See, if you're out of sight, out of mind. Kathy Gilbert at the back, who has been helping with administrative work also. So we brought all the gang here, barring a couple of people. I'll give a shout out to Georgia Davenport in Spokane, again, fundraising, and then Patrick Dillon in Denver was unable to make it out, and he's our deputy field director. So we wish they could have been with us. Am I missing anybody? No? Okay. All right. So this has just been a wonderful team. We have, over the course of these things, you develop to become a family. So I feel like we're all going to be lifelong friends throughout this. Who am I missing? Okay. So social media, Lateria Bailey, Guy Christensen, you may know him as your favorite guy. And then Mark Kamal, sorry, forgot her last name, who, if you saw on Instagram, would you rather drink a gasoline or nail polish remover? You remember that, red or blue? She's part of our social media team. course, we would rather drink neither of those. We would rather drink a nice green smoothie. So I'll stop talking now. I just wanted to let you guys know that the team is here. We're very proud to be here in Dearborn, which is where we feel is ground zero for this election for obvious reasons. I'll bring up our candidate, Jill Stein, here to take it away. She's going to speak to you guys for about 10 minutes. Again, thank you so much for being here. Enjoy the food, and we're going to be here for a few hours, so enjoy the night. Thank you so much.
Thank you all so much. It's really amazing to look out and see all these amazing people who've brought us to this absolutely incredible moment. And I have to say, I haven't worried about tonight at all, because it feels to me like we have won. It feels to me like we have launched an amazing, essential, transformational process. And it's like, I don't know, have you heard the parable of the Rainbow Warriors? Does that ring a bell to anyone? This is a tale of several, I think, of the indigenous nations here in this country. And I want to say the Lakotas, but I think others as well. So the Rainbow Warriors are, this is a story. It's a story that when the earth is sick and dying and the people are struggling to survive, that the Rainbow Warriors will emerge from the four corners of the earth, from across the colors of humanity, and will come forward and do what needs to be done to rescue humanity and Mother Earth. And that's like the feeling I have right now in this darkest of times, these unimaginable times where we wake up every morning to the latest disaster, to this meat grinder into which children are being fed, this, the bombing, the destructions, the starvation. It's like your worst imagination of human suffering and torture and cruelty. In this darkest of hours, the most amazing people are coming from all walks of life here for us to come together. I've never been in a campaign, and I've been in many campaigns, but I've never had the experience of walking down the street or through an airport, and all of a sudden people are rushing at me with open arms and hugs, and they're crying, and they're thanking me for helping to stand up for their loved ones. And in a time of hopelessness, that this campaign has brought so much hope to so many people. And I feel like the angels are just coming out of the woodwork right now. And we recognize each other as really committed members of the human family. And we're standing up for the human family. And at a time when our leadership has completely gone to the dogs, when they are bought and paid for, when they are working on behalf of Wall Street and the war machine and AIPAC, and the health insurance industry and the real estate industry, and the private colleges and the private jails, when our representatives have been absolutely bought and paid for, it is so affirming and amazing to discover. I feel like I'm meeting my doppelganger, in all these people who turned out to have exactly the same values that I have, across the differences of religion and culture and generations. And the reality is that this is where most of America is. This is 68% of Americans who want to shut down this genocide now. This is 61% of Americans who want an immediate weapons embargo right now to the apartheid state of Israel. This is where the American people are. It's only our corrupt elected politicians who don't get it, who continue to take their marching orders from AIPAC and the war machine. So it feels like we, the American people, get what's going on. And if we had a democracy, that we would be calling the shots here. We would not be in this genocidal war. In fact, we would not have the war machine that we have right now, because it is consuming over half of our congressional budget right now is going to these endless wars, of which the genocide is just, kind of the most extreme example. But as Ronald Reagan himself said, no, actually it was his Secretary of Defense, Caspar Weinberger, in the 1980s, who said that Israel is the unsinkable battleship for the United States in the Middle East. It is the United States that is conducting this genocide with Israel basically as its proxy, and the baton of the commander-in-chief has been handed over to Bibi Netanyahu. He has been given the power to decide our foreign policy. And what is he intent on doing? He wants to create, a much bigger war. He wants a war with Iran. He wants to drag the United States and the rest of the world, if he can, into it. Yet he's been given unlimited power. When he expanded the genocide into basically, this devastation of the West Bank and then Lebanon, where thousands of people have been killed in the course of a couple of weeks, and then to be conducting now bombing campaigns against Yemen and Syria and, locking horns with Iran, he was rewarded. He was not disciplined. He was not called to task. He was given an additional $8 billion just a couple weeks ago, just after expanding the war into Lebanon. At a time, in fact, when the American people needed that $8 billion to deal with the devastation of the back-to-back hurricanes in the southeastern US. So this is costing us big time, which is why there is, ironically, I think, cause for celebration right now, because this movement is not going away. The wind is at our back. This is what the American people need, not only to stop this devastating war machine, which is endangering all of us with the potential to break out into nuclear war in at least 3 areas around the globe right now. Not only nuclear war, but also this war machine is impoverishing us right now by consuming half of our budget, preventing us from, providing the health care and the housing and the education and the climate change action that we need right now. So in this lies a win-win solution. And that win-win solution has everything to do with us. By our standing up and demanding the democracy that we deserve, we can shut down this genocide, we can end this endless expanding war machine, and we can bring our tax dollars home to spend on the American people, on the critical things we need right here. And for us, what's happened in this campaign is that we are finding each other, and we've been working together. Many of the organizations that we've had this, we were introduced to shortly after we launched in the fall, and we began to network with these other organizations. Now we've been working together for months, and it feels like we see so much eye to eye, and we are working together across the spectrum of religion, across the spectrum of class and race. And our thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, we are unstoppable together. our ticket, represents a Jewish woman doctor and a Muslim Black historian, professor. And I didn't mention also a Jewish white doctor, woman, and an African-American Muslim man. And so we got the bases covered between us. No one can accuse us of representing just one point of view. And what we represent is not Muslim, it's not Jewish, it's not Christian, it's all of the above. It's basic humanity that is embodied by our campaign. This is what we deserve. This is what the American people are begging for, regardless of what the numbers show tonight. The spirit is that the American people are hungry for a politics that is of, by, and for the people, a politics that's serving us, not the war machine. We don't get that from Kamala Harris or for Donald Trump. There's been so much fear campaigning going on now. It's hard to say how that is going to distort the vote. But what we do know is that we are meeting the fervent desire of the American people for a future that works for all of us, that works for Americans, that works for the rest of the world. If it doesn't work for all of us, it's not working for any of us. As Gaza goes, we all go. We're standing up together here to protect human rights, to protect international law, and to basically protect plain old human decency. We are going to do that together. And I have to give a big shout out, by the way, for Butch Ware, Butch Rudolph Ware, and a big thank you to him for joining our forces. He couldn't be with us in person tonight, but hopefully he's going to be Zooming in. So we really look forward to sharing some of the really powerful voices who've been a part of this campaign and celebrating this campaign. Whatever the numbers are, I have run for office long enough to know it's actually not the numbers. What counts is the conviction and the determination of this community to carry this struggle on, because the numbers are going to be a product of a lot of things, like the money that happened to pour in, the fear campaigns, what got covered, what didn't. There are many things that don't relate to us. What relates to us is the conviction that we're building and the community that we're building and the resolve that we have that we are going to end this genocide. We will free Palestine. We will free ourselves right here in this country. We will prevail together. Thank you all so very much from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. And yeah, I forgot. I knew I was going to forget somebody. I forgot our vice presidential candidate. That's why, please acknowledge Butch. I forgot. So Butch, if you're out there watching right now, apologize for that. But Butch has been an amazing addition to this team. We could not be prouder to have worked with him. And one of the most exciting things is that he is committed to moving the fight on beyond this election. And so we're really enthused for that. So we do have a lot of people joining us from live stream. We're already off schedule. So for those of you waiting in the room, I'm going to start calling you up to address the crowd here in Dearborn. And the first person that I would like to bring on screen, Nada, are we ready? Okay, is Joan Wright. Now, I have not met Joan, but she spoke at a worker strike back rally in Seattle about a month ago, and Jill was so impressed with her. She said, can we get Joan to speak to the crowd here in Dearborn? So, Joan, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Jason. Solidarity from Seattle. we're hosting a watch party, an election night watch party, along with Workers Strike Back and the Washington Green Party. The solidarity, everyone there in Michigan. But I'm gonna excuse me while I reposition myself so it's not too loud. But yeah, it was really exciting. Thank you so much for having me on tonight. It was really lovely to get a chance to meet Jill Stein at our recent Workers Strike Back rally for getting out the vote for Jill Stein just a few months ago. And actually, Jason, I have had the pleasure to meet you. We very briefly in Chicago at the DNC protests. So really excited to see you both again for on election night. And yeah, and so just to talk a little bit about, so like Jason said, so my name is Joan Wright. I'm a rank and file member of OPIU 153 and a member of Workers Strike Back and a Revolutionary Socialist. And yeah, I just want to talk a little bit about what Workers Strike Back has been doing to get out the vote for Jill Stein. So we've been campaigning across the country to get out the vote for Jill Stein, but specifically targeting a strong get out the vote campaign in Michigan and Dearborn with all of you, where you're all at right now. We've been on the ground in that key swing state, getting out the vote for Jill Stein. We've had members from across the country fly out to live in Dearborn and Michigan temporarily, putting aside their lives to get out the vote for Jill Stein. We've been at coffee houses, mosques, masjids, at the university campuses, and at doors, really getting out every possible anti-war vote. And our message is no votes for genocide. No votes for Harris, no votes for Trump. Vote for the strongest anti-war, pro-worker candidate, Jill Stein. And I think that message has been absolutely received so strongly. There is such a movement and a current to fight against this genocide that has been effectively live streamed. We've all seen these horrific scenes playing out. They are absolutely horrifying and gut-wrenching, and our members who've been on the ground in Michigan have even discussed how the direct impact that many of these voters who are voting for Jill Stein have had on their families, their loved ones that who have lost people in this genocide. And it's absolutely so essential, right, that we are on the ground letting people know that there's an anti-war candidate that they can vote for to send a real anti-war message, right? A candidate who calls for an end to military funding to Israel. And absolutely, this election will be empowering for our movement to demonstrate that we do not support the Democrats as some kind of lesser evil, and that we will not give them our votes, and that genocide is a red line. And yeah, it's also really important going beyond election night, right? Immediately after this election, we do need to begin seizing the moment to begin planning for next steps. We've said that every vote for Jill Stein, we as Workers Strike Back, that it matters because it's a vote against genocide, and it's a campaign that can serve as a launch pad to build a strong anti-war movement and a workers' movement to force change. We're going to be building protests at the inauguration of, regardless of whether it's Harris or Trump being sworn in. But absolutely, we need to link up the anti-war movement with the labor movement. And so one of the things that Workers Strike Back will be doing on Saturday, February 22nd, Workers Strike Back will be holding a mass organizing conference for working people and the anti-war movement to discuss our next steps. Absolutely, so that we can send a message to the Democrats and the political establishment that they cannot cross a red line like genocide, and that they will have our support. We need a new party of working class people right now, and that is how fundamental change is going to happen.
Joan, thank you so much for joining us from Seattle. Ooh, we got some reverb there. And say hi to all of my friends in Washington State. Joan coming from my hometown of Seattle, so I saw a lot of Washington Green Party members there. And I actually have to look at my schedule and see who's next. I think Nada, is it Nada? Is Susan next? Did somebody look on the schedule? I think it's Susan next. Yeah. So next we have a supporter of the campaign for a long time and one of the really greatest advocates for Palestine liberation that we have had. Yes. Okay. I'm getting thumbs up. One of the greatest advocates we've had on this campaign for Palestinian liberation, Susan Abulhawa. Thank you.
Thanks, comrades. Good evening. Forgive me, I've been up since 4 o'clock, and so I'm slightly on sleep's doorstep. So please forgive me. First of all, I want to congratulate Dr. Stein and Dr. Ware, along with their dedicated team, for the honorable, people-centered campaign that they ran, which was predicated on social and environmental justice and moral fortitude. You had very little resources to work with compared with the major parties, and the Dems fought you at every turn, from getting access to your own public funding that you earned, to using their vast coffers to keep you off the ballot, and then to launching an all-out assault to disparage and trivialize both your campaign and you as individuals even. But you stayed the course, you stuck to your principles, you spoke truth to power, you embraced one of the weakest and certainly most demonized communities in this country, namely Arabs and Muslims. You uplifted our voices as our families and friends are being slaughtered and starved by Israel and the United States. And I find it beautifully ironic that, contrary to pervasive dehumanizing propaganda about us, that the majority of Arabs and Muslims, including Palestinians in Gaza, supported the only Jewish candidate on the ballot. And I'm proud to have been a part of your journey, however small that part may have been. I've been thinking about the millions of people in this country who claim to want an end to this Holocaust, an end to genocides in other places like Sudan and Congo, an end to the endless capitalist extraction and consumption, the rape of our planet, and the extinguishing of whole species. The Americans who want a fair wages, fair taxation, equitable quality public education, affordable higher education, all of these things that the Green Party stands for. But instead of voting for the only party that's actually promising these things, that's focused on these things, they chose the lesser of two evil paths, choosing evil once again and again and again. And I think their fear is clearly about a wasted vote, because they cannot imagine a victorious third party. So the result is that you have millions of people basing their vote on the perceived voting behavior of each other. It's a circular loop. It's sheep following sheep, a kind of self-fulfilling perception. And I don't know how to convince people to reach for what they actually want and what they actually need, but I think that should be our task going forward. Our votes for the Stein-Ware ticket certainly are not spoilers. They're not wasted votes. Our votes represent the will of the people to live in a country and in a world that is life-affirming rather than one marked by forever wars or genocide. The votes that are cast, frankly, for Harris or Trump are in my view, the wasted votes. They represent a squandering of democracy and the wholesale relinquishing of our power to a ruling elite that are driven by an insatiable appetite for power and an appetite for the hoarding of wealth. So we, the people who voted for the Greens and even for other third parties, are frankly the citizens who voted with sanity, with a sense of hope instead of fear, and more importantly, with honorable ideals for humanity and for all of life. Israel's assault on Palestine and Lebanon have not stopped tonight. Our world is forever altered, at least for us, it certainly is. And if we don't stop this, no matter who wins the election, and I cannot stress more forcefully the dangers of the new world where a captive, principally defenseless indigenous population live streams its own annihilation and we let it pass. That's not a world for any of us. It'll be a matter of time before the weapons they're testing on Palestinian bodies will make their way here. The drones are going to come first, then the new quadcopters, and the robot dogs that they're just now unrolling. So I do believe that the world we want is possible. I believe it's attainable even. A world where capitalist greed is reined in and the health and well-being of our planet and our communities are the highest priorities. That gentler world can become, but the path to that world necessarily runs through Palestine. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Susan. I do want to say a couple of things based on what Susan has said here. And the first thing is to also thank Claudia de la Cruz and Karina Garcia for running their campaign with Party for Socialism and Liberation. We have done a lot of events with them over the course of this campaign season, and they are our allies. And the same thing for Dr. Cornel West. People who are willing to run principled campaigns to stand against this genocidal duopoly deserve our thanks and our congratulations for running good fights. So thanks to they are not our competitors in this fight. They are our allies. And the second thing that Susan said, I want to reiterate. We have been criticized by the Democratic Party for saying we want Kamala Harris to lose. We don't specifically want Kamala Harris to lose. We want genocide to lose. That is what's on the table here. And while I won't speak for the campaign in this, my personal feeling right from the start is that to re-elect genocide has worse consequences for our future than whatever Trump might bring us. And that is not an endorsement of Donald Trump, that guy. So anyway, our next guest on the live stream really should need no introduction. She has been just a powerful force, taking activism to the halls of Congress, putting her body on the line, at every opportunity with the organization Code Pink, a group that I have followed for the 20 years that they have been in existence. I think it's been that long. I know it's been an awfully long time. But would you please welcome Medea Benjamin?
Hello, and what a great honor and pleasure it is to be with you to celebrate the great campaign that Jill and Butch have waged in such difficult times and under difficult circumstances. I'm standing outside a watch party in Washington, D.C., where there are lots of fans of Jill and Butch. And it's amazing to me, having listened to so many of your talks, and I love to listen to you, Jill, because every time you talk, I'm like, yes, we want healthcare for all. Yes, we want free college education. Yes, we want to move away from the war economy. Yes, we want to end the genocide. Yes, it's like 100% of what Jill and Butch stands for. I'm there cheering for every time I hear you. I hadn't heard of Butch, and when I heard him talk, and when I saw you all giving your speeches, I thought, wow, this is brilliant. And what you have done is you've educated millions of people in this campaign. It's not about the number of votes. We know we've got a rigged two-party system. It's about what is the message that you got across. And it was just a brilliant message that talked about the whole system. As Susan Abulhawa just said so brilliantly, how we have to change the entire system. And I find it so ironic that there are people throughout this campaign that have tried to disparage you, Jill and Butch, and especially you, Jill, saying that you're a narcissist. And I think it's the farthest cry from narcissism to put yourself on the line, to make such an incredible sacrifice, to go up against all this system has been doing to you is just amazing to me. The fact that they call you a Russian puppet is so absolutely ridiculous. They have to always try to come up with ridiculous things to disparage you, because they know you're not only speaking truth to power, you are speaking what the people feel. And in all the opinion polls that we have seen, the majority of people want what the Green Party and Jill and Butch have been standing for, but it's certainly not what we're going to get with either of these candidates. And so I just have been so just delighted to watch you in this campaign, amazed at your stamina and your grace throughout all of these attacks. And I really want you to know how much I and the people that I'm with every day walking in the halls of Congress appreciate you being out there for us. And especially now at this time when there's the most atrocious US foreign policy of slaughter and starvation of the people of Gaza, of slaughter of the people of Lebanon, of Netanyahu pushing the US to go into a war with Iran, and Kamala Harris saying that Iran is our worst enemy, and Trump saying that Israel should blow them to smithereens. Having a voice that talks about the real need for diplomacy, for talking, whether it's talking to Putin to end the war in Ukraine, or it's forcing not just negotiations, but forcing an entire change in Israeli policy by cutting off US weapons, US funding, US diplomatic support. This is what we need, and this is what you have been representing. I remember when Obama was elected, and there was the Israelis were bombing Gaza at that time. And people said to us, well, you can't protest Obama. He's the first Black president. You have to give him a honeymoon. And we said, okay, 24 hours. Well, in this case, moving forward, I don't think we want to either give Harris or Trump a 24-hour honeymoon. In fact, there is a protest going on right now at the White House saying whoever is in there, we have got to be on their backs day in, day out, to force them to listen to morality, international law, US law, the cries of the people of Gaza, and the opinion of the American people. So I just want to take a quick walk over here, Jill, where I think there's some people who are part of this watch party that might want to give a shout out to say thank you, Jill. And I know I speak on behalf of so many people in this country that are so thankful to you. So let's have one shout out over here. Hey, who at this table voted for Jill Stein? You did. And you want to say something to Jill here?
I don't see Jill. She's there.
She's in the background here.
Hey, Jill. Thanks for being the only candidate with an anti-genocide platform in all of this. Really.
Anybody
appreciate
else?
it. Hi, Jill. My mom recently met you in California, and I also want to say thank you for being one of the few candidates who recognizes the full humanity of Palestinians.
Everybody say thank you, Jill. So I'll sign off now saying thank you, Jill. Thank you, Butch. Thank you to the Green Party and all the people who worked so hard on this campaign. Congratulations.
Thanks
Free
so much.
Palestine.
It's been an honor to have you with us tonight. Everybody give it up for Medea Benjamin. You know, I don't know anybody over the last 20 years of protesting war who has really put it on the line and been willing to sacrifice to bring peace and justice to this country. So, Nada, do we have Sabby with us? No, we do not have Sabby. Is Jay there? James is not in. Do we have Gloria? Almost. Not quite yet. Okay. Tell us a joke. I don't know. I'm not feeling, you know, we've got, I will be honest. So it's so in the spirit of telling jokes, it has been a depressing year. It is a year that it has not been easy to take joy in things that we should be taking joy in. Because we know what's going on half world away. And as we have watched those pictures, you know, I've thought of my own kids, and I have wondered to myself why they're not here. You know, what makes me so privileged in my life that my kids are not being, you know? And so not to be a downer on the situation, but really honestly, when somebody says tell a joke, I'm like, it's not a joking time right now. It's just, you know, it is a time to fix this mess. It is a time to hold these perpetrators accountable, and not just the perpetrators in the Israeli, but the perpetrators in our own government that have enabled it, funded it, given it political cover, and gaslit us the entire way. The entire way. Corinne Jean-Pierre and Miller, is his name Matt or Mark? I don't even know, but the guy who lies to us all the time. Oh, that guy? There's Joe. He lies to us all the time. Which one? Right? So, you know, these people, and I wonder to myself, are we in a moment where we're going to have to go through a Nuremberg-style accounting, a reckoning after this? And I hope we find our way to it, because there has to be some accountability from this moving forward. It can't just end and then everybody says, okay, it's over. If we don't have accountability, it was, since Medea brought up Obama, I think one of the worst things that Obama was not hold George Bush and Dick Cheney accountable for the Iraq War, and yet how could he? Because the Democrats co-signed it the entire way through, and that's the situation that we're in right now. The Republicans and the Democrats both are co-signing genocide. Now, help me out here. Who we got on the line? Sabby, yay! I'm dying up here. No. Next up for us, we have a media personality who runs her own show, Sabby Sabs, within the Revolutionary Blackout Network of journalists. She's been a staunch friend of ours, start, and welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello. Hi, Jason. Hi, Jill. Hi, Butch. Hi, everyone there. I wish I could be there with all of you in Dearborn, Michigan. But I have to say that I am incredibly proud of the work that Dr. Jill Stein and Butch Ware have done, not just with this campaign, but obviously with their activism on the ground for the pro-Palestinian movement. For those who are not aware, the very first time that I met Dr. Jill Stein in person was not during a campaign. It was during activism. It was during an Earth Day event here in Boston. And so I have seen Jill Stein not just be a candidate, but also an activist on the ground. What we have seen happen to the Palestinian people, the Lebanese people, what we have seen happen to people in the Middle East at the hands of Israel is 100% not acceptable. And I think what is very concerning to me is that I live in a country where people have managed to make excuses for genocide. And that is not appropriate and that is not okay. Anything to get people to support the status quo. I voted for Dr. Jill Stein today because Jill Stein, from what I have seen, has been consistent on the issues. She has been consistent on the issues when it comes to being anti-war. She's been consistent on the issues when it comes to climate reform and climate issues in this country. Not only does Dr. Jill Stein, obviously, in my opinion, have the best platform when it comes to foreign policy, when it comes to Gaza, when it comes to the Middle East in general, when it comes to climate change in this country and in the world, but she also is one of the very few candidates that I have seen in a presidential election actually have a platform for Black Americans in this country. And that is very far and few. So when people assume that I would support a Kamala Harris, they are very surprised to hear that I supported Jill Stein. And it is really interesting that after all these years in this particular country, after everything that Black Americans have gone through in this particular country, none of these candidates that are running in the two-party system really want to bring forth an agenda for Black people to help Black Americans in this country. And then there was Jill Stein. So when I vote for a candidate, I'm voting based on policy. I'm not voting based on identity. I'm not voting based on vibes and what some people call joy. I'm not voting based on those things. So for me, it is very important to see if there has been some type of consistency. And I have watched Jill Stein not only be present at these protests, speak out against what Israel is doing, but she has also stood in the face of adversity when it comes to the attacks. Running outside of the two-party system is not something that is easy to do. You are going to receive attacks from all different types. And we've seen them come out of the woodwork. But one of the things that I will say is that whether it's Dr. Jill Stein, whether it's, someone running outside the duopoly that is pushing back against the status quo and that is pushing back against genocide, these are people that we really need to rally around for a larger movement in this country. I never thought I would see the day where a genocide would be appropriate or would be acceptable for people to use as an excuse. But we have to do this because otherwise you could get Donald Trump, or we have to do this, otherwise you could get that. I never thought I would see that day in this country because I thought we were better than that. But it has become very clear to me with what has happened in Gaza that we're not better than that in this country. And I think there is a lot of room for improvement. And the only person that I can see that really gets it and that is serious about building a larger movement beyond this presidential election, that is Dr. Jill Stein. And so I support Dr. Jill Stein also because she not only is consistent, but I feel like she is very serious about this particular issue. And I have not watched Dr. Jill Stein fold under pressure. And that's what you need in a leader. And that's what we should have in a leader. We don't need a leader that's going to give in to corporate donors. We don't need a leader that's going to give into the military industrial complex. And all of these leaders that have appeared in my lifetime that have gone through the White House have done those things. So we really do need a real change. And I think that Dr. Jill Stein is that change. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Dr. Stein. Good evening, Dr. Ware. And special hello to Jason, Sam, David, Nada, all of the people who are part of this team. I am one of the co-press directors for the Jill Stein 2020 campaign, as well as I am a host of my own channel called the JB Font Channel, and also co-host of the Revolutionary Blackout Network. One of the things that I think that is the most important is that we're focused on voting for Jill Stein because we have red lines. I have a few red lines. One of the red lines that I would like to highlight is we all talk about the genocide in Gaza, but that's not the only genocide that I think that we need to talk about. What about the genocides in Haiti? The genocides in Tigray, the genocides in Congo, the genocides in Sudan? What about the genocides of Black Americans here that we've been enduring for 400 years? Or the genocides of our indigenous brothers and sisters and siblings that have been enduring for 500 years? This is a vote against their genocide as well. This is a vote for reparations for those of us who are descendants of slaves so that we can be made whole again instead of being cast aside by a system that doesn't care about us. This is about declaring a climate emergency because I'm in Florida, we experienced two hurricanes, Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton, and they have ravaged the Southeast and seeing what they have done. That in itself, we're experiencing ecocide. One of the reasons why we're doing this is also because we do not want to see a police state that targets us, especially those of us who are poor and marginalized in this country. And that's one of the things that it matters the most to people like myself. We experience genocide after genocide after genocide, and what do the two parties do? They look us in our face and they will say, hey, if you vote for us, we're going to give you this. And then guess what? The moment we try to get it, they take it away. Ultimately, what we want is an ethical, equal, egalitarian system that actually caters to the people. And here's one thing that I think that sets Jill Stein apart from the rest. She didn't talk about the middle class this and the middle class that, and then cater to the rich. She talked about the people who were disenfranchised, the poor, the impoverished. As somebody who knew what it was like to be a homeless child, that spoke to me. Kamala Harris didn't speak to me. Donald Trump doesn't speak to me. I was catching hell during a Trump administration. I'm still catching hell during this administration. It doesn't matter. And ultimately, what needs to happen is that we actually vote our values and then use those values to come together to organize. You see, somebody like Jill Stein, she can't do it alone. You need people like us who go outside of electoral politics to build dual power in order to circumvent this system, in order to make it easier for somebody like a Jill Stein to lay it up. That's one of the points. It's not just about electoral politics. You have to use that as a tool in order to get what we want. And the thing is we know that the ruling class do not want us to truly have what we should have. And we got to talk about the policies and get on those policies because, look, Jill Stein's policies, some of the best policies in this race. And so I just want to say that I want to thank Dr. Jill Stein for being a leader in this. I want to thank Dr. Butch Ware for being willing and able to be tagged in. I want to thank all the people who I've worked with in close proximity. I want to give a big thank you to Dave, as well as Sam, Jason, as well. I want to give a huge thank you and a big gracious hello to Nada for being very patient with me, especially when it comes to scheduling. And I also want to thank everybody, Georgia, Lateria. I want to thank Rose. I want to thank all of you who have been doing, some powerful work on the ground. Thank you to Justin and everybody who's been on the groundwork, because ultimately what needs to happen is happening. And look, we're going to keep doing it. Hopefully we'll get to 5%. And even if we don't, we left it all on the table. And I'm just proud of you guys. So let's change this system. Let's continue to do it. We're going to do it. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, James. Hello? Okay. And like James, like I said earlier, Nada is the glue that holds it all together. So I'm gonna her in the back there. And again, James has been part of our staff, our press team for the last couple of months as well. So we've been honored to work with him. Our next guest is the chair of or co-chair of the New York Green Party, Gloria Mattera, who was really in the thick of the fight with us for the 6 weeks that we were gathering signatures in New York, and what an adventure that was. And even though we felt short, we did, of all of the third parties trying to get on the ballot in New York, we definitely got by far those. Fell just a hair short. But that's the power of the Democratic Party, how you get on the ballot. And they tripled the numbers that were required from 2020, and it was a real struggle. But anyway, we're not going to bemoan that fact. We're gonna welcome Gloria Mattera here. Thank you so much, Gloria, for being with us.
Thank you, Jason. I'm so happy to be here. I'm sorry I'm on my phone because Zoom would not let me update. I want to give a big thank you to the whole team, to Jill. I've been working with Jill since her 2012 campaign, and she just continues to be an inspiration, and just really setting an example for all of us, and how much we have to really, embrace social justice, embrace concern about the climate, and just our people, planet, and peace. Says it all. Jason said I'm co-chair of the Green Party of New York, and yes, we did work hard on petitioning. In this town, the Democrats have an appendage party. It's called Working Families Party, and that in effect really was pushed Governor Cuomo to want to change the requirements, make it harder for a political party to stay on the ballot. We did work hard along with the Stein campaign, 100 volunteers statewide, a lot of resources put on by the campaign and our state party. And yes, we fell short. We are challenging that rule and many others. People think about New York as like that wild and crazy progressive city, but we now have one of the most onerous ballot access laws on the books. This is the only state in the country that will have only two choices for people, Harris or Trump. That's it. Harris on Democrat and Working Families Party line, Trump on conservative and Republican line. And, we think that is actually criminal. That's voter suppression. So we are fighting here in New York a lot for electoral reform, electoral integrity. But a lot of the other issues, we have a large Muslim, Arab, Egyptian population in different boroughs here in New York City and upstate. And we've really formed great alliances. It was very exciting to have campaign members here, along with Jill, going to the protest. People were basically taking those petitions out of our hands, wanting to sign, wanting to speak out against genocide. And we really feel, just like I think other speakers have said, and I've heard from the camp, day one is tomorrow in terms of growing our movement, in terms of continuing pushing the issues that we know are really important. Of course, the first and foremost, which is no funding, no U.S. funding of arms to Israel, but so many other things that touch lives here. Working on healthcare, single payer healthcare, working on the housing issues, criminal justice issues. We hope that we are going to do battle with our Green Party comrades and others around the country to stop every cop city that is going to try and take root in our communities. I also want to say that here in New York, we had a lot of enthusiasm for people wanting to write in Jill. I've been getting calls and social media requests all day. We are hoping that we get 130,000 or more write-in votes, because we will make sure that we go to the Board of Elections and say that that is the requirement that we met. That is unprecedented to do that kind of write-in vote, and that we will demand our ballot status back. But whether we do succeed this time or not, we will continue to build the Green Party here. We will continue to partner with Green parties and other social activists around the country, because I think there's no stopping us right now. I don't think that people are going to go to sleep. Whoever gets elected, we are doing battle with them. They are not going to make any changes that we need. They are not going to stop the genocide. That's really, really all up to us.
Thank you so much, Gloria. And you're gonna that every time. And I do want people to know that the fight in New York is not over. The New York dad did us dirty, but we're gonna take that to court. We had a court case that was ongoing, and there was a possibility that we could have really pressed for it to be settled before the election. Our lawyers advised that wasn't the best way to go, because when you really try to speed things up, the courts tend to rule against you. And so we're going to pick that right up on the other side of the election and see if we can get those ballot access requirements in New York ruled unconstitutional. I want to bring up somebody who has gotten involved with the campaign as a supporter really just over the last couple of months. But if you saw her speak at ArabCon right here in Dearborn, when was that? About a month and a half ago? I don't remember exactly where it was. She was spitting absolute fire. And we said, boy, we've got to get her speaking for us. So without further ado, our friend of the campaign, Rania Masri. Rania, welcome to our live stream.
Thank you, Jason. Good to be with you all. And sorry I'm not with you in Dearborn. I was greeting at the polls here in Raleigh, North Carolina until they closed. I do want to start off by saying thank you to Jill Stein and to Butch Ware and to everyone at the Green Party for offering us a candidate that we can say represents us. Rather than simply voting against something, you gave us the opportunity to vote for something. And I think that's really brilliant. Thank you for doing that. Thank you also for making it clear by being the example. When we say that politicians in their core are the most honorable of people, because they are the ones that are working night and day to serve the nation, to serve their community. That is the essence, in my perspective, of being a politician. It should be a good thing. It should be an honorable thing. It should be a humbling thing. And that is the example that Jill Stein and Butch Ware showed us. That is the example of the politicians that I hope more and more of us can become. And I'm saying more and more of us can become because I'm also encouraging every single person who voted for Jill Stein and who voted for Butch Ware to start thinking of themselves as future politicians, to start thinking of themselves for running for down the ballot positions. So I am speaking to everyone here. So first, thank you. Second, thank you also for recognizing that the liberation of Palestine is the liberation of the United States. That is what it means to be standing in solidarity. It doesn't just mean that you recognize that we Palestinians and we Lebanese are humans as equal as everybody else, but it means more than that. It means to recognize that when we liberate Palestine, the United States will be liberated, because then the United States will be liberated from the weapons industrial complex and AIPAC and other lobbying firms that actually steal democracy in this country. That means that we will actually have democracy in this country rather than an oligarchy, given that the majority of Americans are opposed to U.S. foreign policy and are opposed to the support, the blind, unconditional support of the Zionist settler state. It would mean that much of what we believe in terms of livable wages, in terms of healthcare, in terms of housing justice, would get to be in fruition. So the liberation of Palestine is the liberation of the United States. I'm also very grateful to the liberals out there. I'm very grateful to the liberals because I love it when people show themselves to be who they are. And I think this is really important for us in organizing. We say, scratch a liberal and a fascist bleeds. And this year made it very clear. Every single liberal that felt scratched because we want to vote for Jill Stein, we saw them bleed. They had the audacity to say time and time again, please do not punish us by voting for Jill Stein. Please do not punish us for voting for Jill Stein. And then in the next sentence, they would say, but we love you, Palestinians, and we stand in solidarity with Palestine. The fact that they could say those two things together unveils their arrogance and their racism and their supremacist tendencies. And we got to name names, y'all. We got to name names. I am starting from tomorrow to burn the bridges with the liberals. Because if anything is holding this country back, it is the ones that claim to be our friend and then stab us in the back. So I am burning bridges with the liberals. And I thank every liberal out there over the past year who has unveiled themselves in all their beautiful horror. So thank you for that. The last thing I do want to say is I have been asked time and time again over the past 10, 15, 20 years, but most powerfully over the past year, is there hope? Is there hope? We have seen, I mean, every Palestinian and every Lebanese I know, we have lost someone, either in Gaza or in the West Bank or now in Lebanon. Our people are being butchered, are being slaughtered, are being starved. Our leaders are being killed. And we ask ourselves all the time, actually, we are being asked all the time, are we hopeful? And is there hope? And I want to throw that question back because I think that is the wrong question. I could present you an analysis of why there is hope, and I could turn around and present you an analysis of why there isn't hope. And I think it's a problematic question. The question needs to be restated. Are we responsible for our homeland? Are we responsible for our people? So as somebody who holds her allegiance first and foremost to Palestine and Lebanon, I am responsible for them, most definitely. But everyone who considers themselves to be an American, everyone who finds love or care in this land that we are in, are we responsible for this society? Are we responsible for this community? Are we responsible for this country? Are we the ones responsible for actually having a damn democracy in the United States of America? And if the answer to that is yes, then we are the ones that must build the hope. We are the ones that must create the hope. We are the ones that must make the Green Party so damn sexy and so damn contagious that the next 2 years and the next 4 years, we will be growing like the wildfires of California. That is what it means to step aside from all this ridiculous liberal analysis of hope and step into the ideological embrace of responsibility towards each other, towards our country, towards the planet, and towards what remains of our humanity. So once again, I thank you, Jill. I thank you, Butch. I thank every single Green Party individual out there who has given up their time, of their blood, of their money to build this campaign. And I ask all of us, please take one day to rest tomorrow. But day after tomorrow, start planning that organizing strategy, because in 2 years from now, we need to have Green Party officials, Green Party candidates running from down the ballot, from city council on up to governor in every state in this country. And we need to start planning in 2 days from now for the 2028 Green Party presidential election. We're going to do it after 1 day of rest. We're going to build it forward. So thank you again, and all power to you all.
Thank you so much, Rania. That was powerful. Rania used one of my favorite sayings, cynically, may the bridge burn like the way before you. And these are the bridges that we don't need to keep. She's absolutely right. People revealed themselves this year, and we won't forget it moving forward. Is Bree on?
Hi.
Okay. So maybe needs no introduction. You can put her on. You can put her on, or is it just flip? Ladies and gentlemen, Briahna Joy Gray. We just saw her out in California for Butch's End of Empire and Future of Freedom conference night, speaking about this campaign and how we can move things forward. Bree, welcome.
Thanks for having me. And thank you, Rania. That was really moving. And I feel very fired up. And I really appreciate your focus on what happens the day after. I think none of us are new to the sort of bad faith attack that Greens get, that we've only popped up every 4 years. Of course, that's a self-owned from folks who are only paying attention to building alternative party structures every 4 years when they're inconvenienced in covering for the duopoly by the existence of third-party alternatives. And I have been really moved by kind of being on the periphery of this campaign and having some insight into its goings on and seeing how hard people are working with relatively little. And it's been a really beautiful thing to watch. This past weekend in California was genuinely inspiring. And I'm really looking forward to continuing my involvement with the party. I think, like a lot of people, I have been really affirmed over the last, say, 5 years in my belief that working within the Democratic Party is an impossibility. As I said, in California, I didn't come to this position lightly or from a place of sort of resentment or any kind of reactionary impulse. I was someone who, you know, as I like to joke, gave her mid-30s to the Bernie campaign and really wanted to give it a Girl Scout try. But I think after watching those two cycles, 2016 and 2020, it became obvious that the Democratic Party was always going to work harder to prevent this country from moving left than it ever would in preventing the country from moving right. And we're seeing that right now in a really galling way. When we look at polls that show that Kamala Harris could have improved her odds with about 30% of voters in several key swing states had she simply embraced an arms embargo. Hell, if she probably had just lied about an arms embargo. But while Trump took a phalanx of imams to Michigan to try to court Muslim voters there, Kamala Harris won't even pretend to care what Muslim and Arab American voters think about. She obviously would rather prioritize litigating a genocide than winning an election, all while trying to bully people into thinking they had to vote for her or else fascism would be coming. Well, fascism is already here. I just saw a video of police chasing down pro-Palestine protesters in the streets of New York, a blue state, a blue city with a blue president currently somewhere in the White House. And it has never been clearer to me that the existential is to make sure that we have real alternatives, that we're building real alternatives. And I'm obviously hopeful that we'll get to 5%. I certainly know for a fact, though, from the quiet DMs that are being sent to me by friends, by my friends' husbands, by people I'm not that close to, old people I knew from school and class and things like that, that they are voting Green Party for the first time in their entire lives, and that they've been really moved by the moral clarity of this moment and this movement. I feel heartened by it. I am someone who back in 2020 felt, even absent the horrors of what we're seeing in Gaza, that the stagnation and immiseration of the American people was enough for us to draw a red line. And to say that in the middle of a pandemic where 15 million people had just lost their health insurance, we shouldn't be rallying around a guy who said he would veto Medicare for all if it ever came across his desk. that in the wake of the largest protest movement in American history, we shouldn't be rallying around the guy who wrote the crime bill and said we needed to fund the police harder. But this is what Democrats do. Their job, their goal, their purpose is to ensure the country doesn't move left. And in fact, it greases the wheels for it to move right. There was like a 20-point swing in public opinion about supporting a fracking ban in the negative way when Donald Trump, Freudian, when Joe Biden won the primary and started campaigning on needing a fracking ban to win Pennsylvania. This is false. It's a lie. There's only about 17,000 fracking jobs in Pennsylvania. There's tens of thousands of people in Pennsylvania who are subject to the federal minimum wage. These are not issues that you're hearing the Democratic Party talk about. We're getting results out of Florida right now that show that it was huge margins for Trump, much bigger than expected. But Florida is a state that in 2020 passed had 60% of voters vote for a $15 minimum wage. These are issues that are popular all around the country, even in the reddest parts of the country. The Democratic Party would rather abdicate its responsibility to the people to ensure up its responsibility to its corporate donors. And there's no bargaining with that. There's no pushing that. They are who they are because they're paid to be that way. And the only way to break free is to support a genuinely independent, financially independent third party. And I'm very proud to be invited into this space. And I'm very humbled by all the work that everybody has been doing with very few resources and a lot of other personal obligations. And it has been a privilege to try to elevate your work and elevate the message with the platform that I have as long as I have it. So thank you for inviting me, and good luck to everybody tonight.
Thank you so much, Briahna, for spending part of your watch evening with us. It's really an honor to know you over this year, have support for the campaign. You're a powerful voice, and we look forward to working with you. Next, we're actually going to, for those of us, or for those of you who are going to be joining us on screen here, and I'm talking to people who are waiting in the chat to talk, we're a little bit off schedule, but right now I'm going to bring up somebody live in person who has been a supporter of the campaign on social media, and this is Caucasian girl? Caucasian Arab. There we go. Sorry, Caucasian girl. Caucasian Arab. And Rema, please come on up. Thank you so much. We haven't met in person, so.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm sorry I don't really have prepared, as we just got home from Chicago at 4 o'clock for an event got raise money for Gaza. So we're all over the place. But again, thank you guys so much for having me here. Hello? What's going on here? Regardless of what happens tonight, as everyone has said, I am so proud to be in a room amongst all of you who are absolutely shaking this earth. So give yourself a round of applause. Again, no matter what happens, you are all making a difference. Our voices are loud. Our voices are clear. We are not just here to talk about a free Palestine. It is a free Yemen, Congo, Sudan, and every oppressed voice across the globe, including the oppressed voices here in our own country. So continue to be loud. Be very proud of yourself. I literally have chills. I might start crying. I'm known as a crier. But as I said at the last protest that I spoke at, if I'm up here crying or you see me crying on social media, just remember that these are tears of a lioness, and we will not stop until all of us are free. So thank you all for your hard work. Thank you so much. And again, it's been an honor, a privilege, and I am so sorry I don't have much prepared, and I know you guys are all tired, but be loud, and thank you again so much. God bless all of you guys, and free Palestine.
All right, we're gonna keep the live guests going here, so I want to bring up Clyde Shabazz to say a few words to everybody. And I want to preface this by saying the Green Party has of strength across the country, depending upon what state you're in. But I want to give a shout out to the Green Party of Michigan, because Green Party of Michigan is one of the strongest Green Party in the country. Clyde.
Right. How's everybody doing tonight? I said, how's everybody doing it? Everybody doing all right tonight? Let's say, let's go green. Let's go green. Let's go green. Let's go green. All right. For those of you who don't know, my name is Clyde Shabazz. I came in the year that Obama ran, and another dynamic woman. Green Party, they seem to attract all of the great dynamic women to run and lead the party. And that's something that I much appreciate. In 2008, it was Dr. Cynthia McKinney, the former congresswoman from Atlanta. Yeah, let's remember Dr. Cynthia McKinney. She was the standard bearer for our party in 2008, running on the same platform. Dr. McKinney was getting arrested in the ports of Palestine over there because they were trying to block food from getting over. So, you know, the party is always on the front line defending and doing the right thing. But I want to speak to the Michigan Greens specifically. I want to invite everybody here. If you don't know, our website is migreens.org. migreens.org. One more time. migreens. 15 counties. And as I was sharing with Dr. Jill Stein earlier, and Jason and some of the other folks, we're poised to be, if not one of, probably the first state to actually win a statewide presidential campaign and credential that candidate some delegates. Okay? We're this close. Listen to the reasoning behind that. The two major parties are parties that are vestiges from America's past, really in the 20th century. One party, as I shared with Jason and Dr. Stein, was formed around, and it was an independent party, which was the Republican Party. When they signed the Emancipation Proclamation in 1865 that freed Black people from chattel slavery. So then for the next 100 years, Black people voted Republican. Fast forward up into 1964, where we had to deal with 100 years of Jim Crow, lynching, and other effects, voting rights, disrespect, and that sort of thing. You saw a shift in the Black voting pattern to the Democratic Party in 1964 because of the Voting Rights Act. Here we are, another 60 years later in 2024, with not only issues of what's going on in Palestine, but as I stated with Dr. Jill Stein and Jason, the UBI issue, Universal Basic Income. And that's a concept that's very popular in the Scandinavian countries, and it's going to be popular over here amongst the working class of Democrat and Republican, who, by the way, those are the people who we're going to take away, and they're going to become green in the next 2 to 4 years. Let's give ourselves a hand on that. So I want everybody here to think about, when you talk to people on why they should become a Green Party member, we'll start with what's going on in Gaza and the genocide in Palestine, but let's follow that up, because as I shared with them, that'll earn us points as humanitarians, but what'll allow people to believe in us and vote for us and allow us to govern is their pocketbook issues. It's always about the pocketbook, right? So UBI and cash reparations, lineage-based cash reparations, are the two issues that are going to be big issues going into 26, 28, and beyond, that are going to allow us as Michigan Greens to bring people into the party of all races and, you know, genders and everything, because poor and working class people can identify with that, right? Regardless of that. So it's a hot button issue that's a winning issue for us. And as many of us interact with you and you come into the meetings, because we're looking at a room full of people who's going to be the next congressional candidate, the next state rep, right here in this room. This is how we build a party, okay? And we're counting on you in this room and others who are in this state to help us do that. Are you ready to do that, Michigan Greens? I said, are you ready to do that, Michigan Greens? Well, let's do it then. Let's go Greens. Let's do it. Let's go Greens. Let's go Greens. Let's go Greens. Let's go Greens. And I want to end this by giving a big shout out to Dr. Jill Stein and Dr. Butch Ware for them stepping up to the plate and being the standard bearer for our party at a time when, you know, we were kind of directionless. So she came in and unified us and kept us all together and helped us to reunite what it is to be a Green, because I was brought in, many of you don't know this, by some folks who have been doing this work since the 60s and 70s, and a lot of them are getting old now. And I want to shout out a couple of them many of you don't know about, or many of you may not have even been around, or you may not have been voting age, and that's Fred Vitale, George Corsetti. These are all older Green Party members who helped to get this party where it is today, and they would be so proud of the success of what they're looking at in this room. I just want to say I'm humbled and I'm thankful to be able to interact, because I can tell you're some of the best human beings on the planet right here in this room. And we look forward to working with you and growing this party even more. Thank you humbly so much.
The Green Party is alive and well in Michigan. Thank you, Clyde. Now, let's talk about another very strong Green Party. And we had a great run through Texas. So I should say that this campaign, many members of our team have traveled all over the country, not just for this here today, but, you know, I think we started going on the road in January. And I remember the first trip that I was on before I was even a member of this campaign, it was kind of the trip that led to me being a member of this campaign, was the January 13th March for Gaza in Washington, D.C., where 400,000 people, and this was almost a year ago, 400,000 people in this country in Washington, D.C., said this is enough. We got to put a stop to this. But my point here is saying that our campaign has been in over 30 states, in over 45 major cities, and all sorts of hinterlands since we got on the road in mid-January at that first rally. And along with the Michigan Green Party being a very strong Green Party, the Texas Green Party is a very strong Green Party. And on that note, one of our staffers, Marlon Duran, who lives down in McAllen, Texas, right on the border, he said, you got to come down to see what's happening on the border over here. You got to see this border wall, this abomination of a border wall that, by the way, the Democrats want to continue building, right? And one of the things that we did is we went, so down in McAllen and Brownsville, Texas border, we got to see Elon Musk's SpaceX port, right? The facility that he's building down there where he wants to fire off rockets into space twice a month, disturbing wetlands and wildlife and keeping the public who has been living there from their beaches, from, you know, their recreation. And we also got to see what is currently going to be the largest liquid natural gas export terminal right at the mouth of the Rio Grande pipeline. So to speak to those issues and to speak the issues of Texas, I would like to introduce Marlon Duran. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Jason. Let me say that it has been the honor of a lifetime to be a part of this campaign. You know, when they came to Texas, I showed Jill the border wall, and I showed her, you know, both Democrats and Republicans, since the time of George W. Bush, have been building this border wall and have been continuing to build it, cutting off people to their sacred sites, the indigenous people, cutting off families, habitat. It's very violent, and we here in the border do not want that. This narrative about the border being a dangerous region is just patently false. We are wonderful multicultural people. We want respect and dignity. And we feel a special solidarity with the people of Palestine and Gaza. Anyone who's undocumented is stuck here in the borderlands between the border and the checkpoints. And I showed Jill this. Both parties, both Trump and Biden, are horrible to immigrants. They have forced our immigrant siblings to stay on the other side of the border, where they are under the threat of violence by the cartels. They don't treat them like human beings. They put them in ICE concentration camps. Fascism is here now, whether it's red fascism or blue fascism. And a lot of people thought, oh, well, we need to vote for Democrats to protect ourselves. But that is a very wrong approach. When we throw people more marginalized than us under the bus, eventually we get sacrificed too. And I think people have seen that with people struggling with houselessness, being harassed and having their things stolen in democratic cities by democratic governors under a democratic president. We've seen with Kamala Harris coming against trans people and throwing us under the bus. So we need to value all human beings equally. We need to vote against genocide. People that say that voting for a third party is a wasted vote, I say that voting for Democrats is the real wasted vote, because things never get better. They only get worse and worse and worse. And if genocide isn't your red line, if you show these people that you'll vote for them, even when they do this, then there's nothing that they won't do. So we need to take a stand. I feel the consciousness of the planet and of our nation rising. I feel that people are finally stepping out of fear and into their own power. One of the things that I love that Jill always says, she quotes Alice Walker and saying the only way that you give away your power is by thinking you don't have any. And that is true. The world is the way it is because we have let it be that way, but we can also stop and change that. And we are doing that. And I also want to invoke the prophecy that Jill spoke about earlier, that is in many indigenous tribes and traditions. The prophecy about the rainbow warriors rising up from every creed and color in the world and uniting to birth a new world. I think it's also very similar to what Black Panther Chairman Fred Hampton talked about, building a rainbow coalition between people of all races, of all colors, of all genders, of all sexual orientations, abilities. We need to unite as one human family, and we will be victorious. And I, want to take a little bit of time, like maybe a minute, for us to do a mini meditation. So if everyone could close their eyes and take a breath in and out and feel your heart and know that what's here in the heart is eternal, and it's love, and it connects you and every other person and every other sentient being on the planet. And whenever you feel like there is no hope, like, that the world will go into ruin and that, that we can't do anything, connect to this place within yourself and get the strength from it. We can and we will change the world. And I want to end with a quote from a great Chicana lesbian activist and scholar, Gloria Mattera. May we seize the arrogance to create outrageously, soñar wildly, for the world becomes as we dream it. Thank you, muchas gracias, and let's go Greens.
the room. We are going to be closing our merchandise store down. So if you want to make, this is a great way to do a last minute donation to the campaign. If you want to go check out what we have at the store closes, I want to say midnight Pacific time. So this is your last opportunity to get some items. And then I do want to acknowledge a couple people who have showed up here. So Lateria, we want to give a quick wave to the crowd. Lateria Bailey, social media team. And Mark, can you stand up also? Because I'm going to... And this is Mark Amal, also on the social media team, and they have done a fantastic job this year. Our next guest is somebody that I have known and worked with for upwards of a decade now in the Seattle area, who has been instrumental in leading the way on some of the most important fights for working people in this country, who has now co-founded an organization called Workers Strike Back, and we've got a couple of their members in the room right here. Matt, and I'm sorry I don't know your name, but I know you're with Workers Strike Back. And so without further ado, friend of the campaign, and we look forward to working together in the future, especially at a conference in February where we're going to try and figure out how to bring organizations together to fight the duopoly. So without further ado, Kshama Sawant.
Thank you so much, Jason. Thank you to everyone in the campaign for including us in this really exciting live stream. I'm actually excited to also report that I'm here right after having co-hosted the Worker Strike Back's On Strike live stream. And it was exciting to be able to tell the viewers that the reason I have to leave a little bit early is so that I can go and join the Jill Stein campaign at their live stream. And I wanted to, first of all, just express my heartfelt thanks to Jill herself. I mean, it is not a small thing to be, to set your life, to turn your life upside down, to be able to run as an anti-war, pro-worker candidate, be willing to subject yourself to just the relentless and rotten attacks by the Democratic Party. As we have seen, in fact, we saw them going overboard, doubling down with all these attack ads against Jill, which, as Jill and I have talked about earlier, that's a badge of honor. When they feel that threatened that the campaign itself is going to release ad after ad attacking you, that means that they are genuinely anxious about the impact that an anti-war pro-worker candidate being in the race is having. And not to mention the fact that the consciousness of millions of working people has shifted dramatically on the Israel-Palestine issue. In fact, for the first time in history, you have a majority of American working people saying this genocide should end, but not just that, the brutal occupation needs to end. I'm not sure there's a poll for that, but I know that polls have shown that majority Americans want military aid to be ended immediately. And so I think the fact that we had Jill Stein running as this anti-war candidate, as this anti-war campaign, was super crucial for working people as a whole, and especially so for the Arab and Muslim community, many of whom have lost their own family members in this horrific bloodbath massacre that is ongoing in Gaza and now also taking lives in Lebanon, and with the threat of wider war and even World War III looming ahead. I also wanted to express my thanks to Jason Call, campaign manager. Jason and I, we have known each other for years. We've been alongside one another in struggles in Washington State. And I wanted to thank everybody who campaigned for Jill Stein, no matter which state you're in. It was extremely important that we carried out this effort. And I also want to add that Workers Strike Back, my organization, we were all, and shout out to Workers Strike Back members who are there. Sorry, I couldn't be there personally in Michigan. I was there earlier. We did this rally together with Jill and with Abandon Harris. But it's been a matter of pride for us that we were able to come together. Abandon Harris, the Jill Stein campaign, Workers Strike Back, ordinary people, union members, Arab and Muslim working people, everybody coming together and saying that we need a powerful anti-war movement. And the first steps this year in a presidential election year to build that campaign was precisely to be able to run this kind of anti-war campaign. We never accepted, none of us ever accepted that sitting out the race was ever an option. We did not accept that, oh, maybe you can vote for Kamala Harris in the safe states, where she is likely to win, but let's not, vote for Jill Stein in the safe states where Harris is likely to win, but let's not vote for Jill Stein in the swing states. We actually adopted, Worker Strike Back adopted the exact opposite strategy alongside Biden-Harris, and I know it was very important for the Jill Stein campaign itself that we were able to help the get out the vote effort in states like Michigan. So we'll see what the results say, but at this point, I think what we're seeing is the unofficial reporting by an independent reporter, which shows that Jill Stein is beating Harris in multiple Dearborn precincts. We'll hope for the best kind of results later on when more ballot drops are declared. But for now and for the upcoming days, I think it's very, very important for us to understand that regardless of what the vote is, at the end of the day, we will have delivered a powerful message, a real shot across the bow, to adopt Jill's own words, that the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, we're making it very clear they are both parties of genocide. Genocide is a red line. We will absolutely not say yes to genocide ever. And that's why not sitting out this election was so crucial. And then we want to build on this because we know that both a Harris and a Trump administration are going to be an absolute disaster, regardless of which one of them is in the White House, will be an absolute disaster for working people, for the oppressed, for the people of Gaza, and for the environment. They will, we know that if Harris wins, and if she wins, despite the anger against her on the cost of living crisis, on the genocide, then what's the message that the Democrats will take home? That they can be more emboldened to carry out their horrific agenda and they can ignore working people. This is simple logic. And that is why it is so crucial that we not stop here. And I really appreciate Jason mentioning the February organizing conference that Worker Strike Back has announced, but we want hundreds of people to join us. It will be in Seattle. So if travel is going to be an issue, then I would urge you all to make travel plans as soon as possible. And let's have a collective effort to make sure that we fundraise so that funds just to be able to buy a plane ticket and organize accommodation is not a barrier, because we want everyone who is willing to fight back, everyone who has an interest in ending the genocide, everyone who wants to fight for significant gains for working people, like free healthcare, like a $25 an hour minimum wage, to expand unionized jobs, living wage jobs by taxing the wealthy and taxing Wall Street. Those of us who want to fight to stem the climate catastrophe, we need everybody there at the February conference. And let's plumb the depths of where the Harris campaign actually exists. We know that the Harris campaign even went on record saying that they don't even agree it is a genocide. Her campaign said that she does not agree with defining this war as a genocide. And so we're seeing a ruling class, a capitalist class, determined to continue carrying out the slaughter. Why? Because they have within the capitalist class globally, they have their competition, and there's a US-led bloc and the China-led bloc. And in their relentless pursuit against each other, both sides are going to sacrifice working people. And of course, we have seen over 350,000 Palestinians literally being slaughtered there. And we are seeing so many children being made orphans and children being killed themselves. And this region is of geopolitical importance for the capitalist class. There is enormous oil wealth there. So the only way forward, I'm mentioning all this because the only way forward for us to end the genocide is to understand that this anti-war movement needs to be built on a working class basis, independent of the Democrats and Republicans. That is the only way that the Vietnam War was ended. That is the only way that Roe v. Wade was won in the first place. So whether we want to fight to win abortion rights, to end the cost of living crisis for working people, or we want to end the genocide. We have to build a working class based movement. And that is why I'm looking forward to organizing alongside Green Party activists, alongside Jill Stein and Jason and others, and hope to see you all at the February conference, and solidarity to you all.
Thank you so much, Kshama. Yeah, as Kshama said, we're really looking forward to doing some wider organizing in the future, and we will be putting out information on the organizing conference in February very shortly. Talking about states that have strong Green parties again, we were just in Phoenix last week for the first time on this campaign. We really had a great turnout for events all throughout the day, and one of the lead organizers for those events was a young man named Zakir Sakiti, and we're going to bring him on now. And Zakir and I had an interesting connection because where I am up in Washington State, his brother Imran was actually running for Congress in the district right next to mine, and running as a Democrat, and learned all about how Democrats try to keep progressives out of the system. So Zakir, are you with us?
I am. Can y'all hear me? Jason, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you, Zakir.
Awesome. Okay, thank you guys. Thank you for the beautiful introduction. It was an incredible day. I have been told by a lot of people, my locals, asking how did we get Dr. Stein to spend so much time in Arizona, when the reality was we just filled the slot and we had so many eager people ready to meet Dr. Stein because we in fact abandoned Harris. We have a very strong Palestinian-led Muslim community that has been mobilizing for this past year against the genocide. And these are all folks that I see every single day at my coffee shop. These are folks that I get to greet, get to buy coffee for, just to congratulate after being arrested at the encampment. These are my people, and I just felt like this was the right moment. This was the time, because I was a vote blue no matter who guy up until Imran's campaign. And the DNC, the past year, the lack of leadership has really driven me to needing to reevaluate, and I only see a path to raising my voice through the Green Party. I have not had any luck, no matter whether I'm flying to DC to be told Israel has a right to defend itself, or just being shut out by the representatives and senators that supposedly represent us. I see a real movement on the rise, and it's just absolutely exceptional to be a part of, to be called a leader within the organization, because honestly, the volunteers that are all sitting around me recording very excitedly are mainly responsible for the everything that you're seeing out of Arizona. But I just want to give a quick shout out to Salam, Juman, Reem, Gabby, Anjali. Like the list just keeps going, because we had about 40 volunteers at our last meeting, and we have a real youth-led, workers prioritizing movement that is on the rise. And I just cannot wait to continue working with y'all now that I know you guys exist. Thank you.
So I want to say just, I mean, Zakir is the future of the Green Party in Arizona, and Arizona is another one of those state Green parties that is a very strong party, and we know they're going to be running candidates at all levels in the next few years. Zakir, thank you so much for your hard work, and thank your parents also for letting us hosting us at your coffee shop in Phoenix. Where You Bean coffee shop. If you're in Phoenix, they're fantastic. So more strong Green parties. North Carolina, where's Mark? Mark's out in the hall somewhere, but our senior advisor, Mark Alborno, is from North Carolina. And so is someone who has helped us out immensely with field organizing. Anna Lee. Is Anna available? Is she on? I'd like to bring on Anna Lee, we've had wonderful over the phone about how we can make the party stronger and how we can turn out the vote for Jill. So Anna, thank you so much for being here.
Hi, it's such a pleasure to be with everybody in such good company. The thing I really want to focus on tonight is to say that we have won just being here tonight. The conversation is kept this big for a reason. And when we mobilize and when we open up that conversation to the people's agenda, there is no stopping us. And I think it's important that we remember who was really the group right now who is putting the purple fascists on the run, who is scaring them. We have seen through the leaked stuff from Move On, we have seen in North Carolina the money and the time that they have invested to try to keep us off the ballot back in 2022 has continued to persist. It is now the undemocratic party's playbook. And so when you see that kind of effort and that kind of punching down, you recognize that the People's Party is right now gaining momentum and really, really scaring the duopoly. We have said to the empire, we see you, and we're coming with the truth. We're coming with an agenda that speaks to the compassion and humanity that we hold very dear in our hearts right now as Greens and as our comrades who have worked so tirelessly right alongside us. So I am so proud of the work that the Stein campaign has done. I'm so proud to hear from all of the wonderful, wonderful people who have stepped up and taken a really brave stance to say, I'm done with this Democratic Party that is full of nothing but lies. So I think taking that to the next step, I want to put a call to action out there for everyone at home. I'm the co-chair of the North Carolina Green Party, and I think it's really important that everybody out there recognize you are the next co-chair of your state party. Maybe a treasurer, secretary. There is such a need right now for you to get your county organized for the only anti-genocide party that has the infrastructure to really scare the Democratic Party right now. And we're scaring them both because we're talking about using policies that would actually make the difference in the lives of the working class in this country. We're talking about healthcare as a human right. We're talking about addressing this endless wars with real people power and grassroots democracy. So I want everybody that is listening to this right now to really understand you are exactly what the Green Party has been waiting for. We are taking this momentum and running with it. The real challenge starts tomorrow. What is it that you bring to the table? What is it that you're called to do? What talents and gifts do you have to give to this movement? There comes a time when you have to recognize I can no longer participate in this charade. And I am at a place right now where I'm going to build for hope and energy. I'm going to get out there and do what it takes to make the Green Party exactly what I need it to be. So I want everybody to recognize that it's time to hit the ground running. Regardless of what happens tonight, we have already won. And what we do with that energy is going to make or break where we are as a people. Let's continue to fight for these policies. Let's continue to lift up the voices of the marginalized. And let's bring the people, the diverse, young, Muslim, Black, Arab people who are out there working to change the world into the infrastructure and the leadership of the Green Party. We really need that energy. And we want you to know, if you're not a member of your state party, if you're not organizing and actually joined GPUS, please check it out. Join us. You are the leader and the talent that we've been waiting for and that we desperately need. So thank you, everyone. In North Carolina specifically, we have some really exciting candidates and some brave leadership that I'm just in awe to have had the honor to work with. So many wonderful people and a community that has just continued to show up and to say no to genocide and yes to the people's agenda. So Let's just keep organizing, guys. We need you in the Green Party. Get out there and keep fighting. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anna. Appreciate all of your hard work this year, and don't you know we're talking about a revolution. Next, I'd like to bring up to the stage here, we're going to pause the live speakers for a minute, Dr. Sami McCool, who is running for the Wayne State University Board of Regents as a Green Party member. I see the green and the green shirt, so Dr. McCool, please.
Hello, Dearborn. Hello, Detroit. Good evening. Hello, Green. Hello, America. Dearborn is known for making cars, for putting America on the road. Dearborn is built by immigrants that came in from Yemen, Lebanon, Palestine, from all over the South. They came in, they start working in the Rouge plants, they start working really hard, building cars, building families, building values, building America. We are the people of Dearborn. We are the people of Detroit. We are the people of Michigan. We have great values, values that shows us that we have dignity, we have a human respect. We are not going to allow anybody to rob us of our dignity, of our human respect. There is some players on the international scene, they think they are smart, that they are eloquent, that they could play games, they could do things like, hey man, you know, I'm so cool, I could work America, I could work the Congress, I could work the parties, I could put the parties, the Republicans and the Democrats against each other, and I could be the winner because I have AIPAC to support me. AIPAC is the American Israeli Public Affairs Committee. We're gonna say to this dark soul in overseas that the time is gonna become that the Justice Department in America is gonna take AIPAC into the courts and to register AIPAC as a foreign lobbyist, not an American lobbyist. Nobody is gonna rob America of its dignity. Nobody is gonna rob America of its values. We are built in human values and a human dignity of hard work. We are here to support the people that needed to be supported. Like President John Kennedy said, we are the peaceful nations. When it was the time, he extended an olive branch to Khrushchev and he said, let's work together. We don't need to destroy this planet. It was a statesman. This man loved America. And we, the Greens, love America as President Kennedy loved America. We are the party of Ralph Nader. Ralph Nader is the greatest American that ever lived. And he always said, it's a human dignity. Don't count America out. Don't count the peoples out. Don't count Michigan out. Don't count Dearborn out. Don't count the Green Party out, because we're going to bring the values to our electoral process. We're going to win. We're going to win the hearts and the souls of America. We're going to restore the dignity back to America. We're going to restore America to its greatness, to its greed. We love America, and this is what the Green Party does. Thank you all, and God bless you all. Let's go green. Let's go green. Let's go green.
I am reminded tonight again of how many strong Green parties we have in this country. Green Party of Wisconsin, another one, and we had our battles in Wisconsin this year. The Democrats tried to deny us ballot access in Wisconsin over a ticky-tack measure. They got shut down by their own Supreme Court in a 7-0 ruling. The Supreme Court of Wisconsin said, get out of here. We're not letting you have this one. So we appreciate the Wisconsin Supreme Court. And we also appreciate Chester Todd, who is running for Congress in Wisconsin's 1st District. Chester, are you with us?
Yes, sir. I'm right here. Thank you for having me.
You're on, Chester. Go ahead and
Hello,
speak.
hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hope everyone's doing fine tonight. We're not doing bad at all, better than expected down here. I think we're running about 2% right now in the race. Of course, we know the incumbent is more than likely going to be reelected. But we made so far a fair showing for Greens to be on the ballot. Got to remember we're in this district, we're the first Green to be on the ballot in this congressional district, CD1 of Wisconsin. And I'm also the first Black to be on the ballot. And thanks to the Green Party.
Do we have anybody else in the live stream? I think we've gone through everybody. Okay. So now we're going to bring up Justin Paglino, who has been our field director for the entire campaign. I got to meet Justin on that trip in Washington, D.C., January 13th, where 400,000 people marched for genocide. It was the first action I ever did with this guy, was marching against genocide in Washington, D.C. And when we ran into each other, I was like, your name's familiar. Turned out we'd follow each other on Twitter for years. So isn't it funny how that things happen that way? Anyway, done a masterful job here, comrade in arms, integral part of this campaign all the way through, running for Senate in Connecticut. And he showed us the thing with the New York Times. He got his name in the New York Times for votes. So, Justin, my brother, give me a hug. Take it away.
What an amazing year it's been. Thank you to Jill, who I think is still out doing media interviews. Guys, the two-party system is garbage. It really is garbage. We have to move past it so that we can have a representative democracy, so that people can feel free to vote for what they want, not be extorted by fear into compromising their values when they vote. Because if you don't vote for what you want, you're never going to get it. And too many people compromise their values when they vote. You see people talking about, oh, this is, this genocide is a tragedy, it's horrible. People like Mehdi Hassan, but Trump. Oh, I still have to vote for Kamala because we got to stop Trump. When you have ranked choice voting, as they've had in Australia for 100 years, people don't make those, they don't think that way. They don't make those compromises. This is a uniquely American problem. This whole idea of the spoiler, the vote splitting, this is uniquely American, to our detriment, to our shame. A lot of European countries have parliamentary systems. They have 5, 6, 7, 8 parties, more. They're proportionally represented in their legislative bodies. We have 2 parties, 2 major parties. And no matter who wins, we the people lose. The planet loses. War continues. Corporate rule continues. The climate continues to be destroyed. So we all lose under a two-party system. And I was a Democrat for 30 years. I now bleed green. I joined the Green Party 5 years ago. It was the best decision I ever made. I'm very proud to be a Green who is fighting for what they believe in and not, supporting some candidate just to stop a worse candidate, but supporting a candidate who really is not working in my own interest, in anyone's interest, except for their rich donors. We have a corrupt system. We need public campaign finance. The Green Party calls for a lot of electoral reforms in addition to ranked choice voting and public campaign finance. We call for abolishing the Senate because it's really not democratic. Raising the number of representatives in the House so you don't have, one person representing 750,000. The House should be a much larger number of people. I am very proud of all the work that people have done. I'm very grateful to have been part of this campaign. Very grateful to all the team members. So I'm not going to try and name them all because there's too many. But I am very optimistic about the Green Party after this year because I see the excitement. I see people waking up and saying, you know what, I'm gonna fight for my values. I'm just gonna vote for what I want. And that's what people have to do to make progress. And I've got to believe that we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it to a better democracy in this country. And if the only way to fight for it, I believe, is through the Green Party because we're the ones with the platform to create a better democracy and the policies that people want, but they don't vote for them if they're extorted by fear of the greater evil. So I do believe this is the path forward. And I want to see people joining their local parties. What we need in the Green Party, as Anna was saying, is we need people. We need people who are going to come to meetings, learn skills, write press releases, come up with graphics. Every chapter, every state party, every candidate needs their own team of people to keep track of the money, put out press releases, organize events. There's a lot of work to be done. Wherever you are, there's something for you to do in the Green Party. There's a role for you, and it's going to be making a difference. So it's a sad state that we're in right now in America, and we've got to keep We've got to keep optimism alive. We've got to keep hope alive. And to me, that's what the Green Party is. If the Green Party didn't exist, I can't imagine how much more desperate and hopeless I'd be feeling. The Green Party, to me, represents a potential way out of the ongoing corporate rule, climate destruction, capitalist exploitation of workers, people not being able to afford healthcare, people dying of lack of healthcare in this country, and the brutality of our foreign policy establishment, not just in Gaza, but around the world, the anti-democratic overthrow of leaders. So there's a lot of important problems, and they can weigh very heavily on you. I know they weigh heavily on a lot of us here in the campaign, and that's why we do what we do, because we see this as the path forward out of our existential problems, the life or death issues that people face. Democrats aren't going to solve it. Republicans aren't going to solve it. So wherever you are, I hope you're thinking about what you're going to do in the next year to help grow the Green Party, to show up, find a role, maybe run for office, maybe be a treasurer. Whatever it is, there's a role for you. Whatever your skill set you can bring to the party, you're welcome. We're all volunteers. We don't take corporate money. We do this because we are fighting for what we believe in. And if we don't fight for it, we're never going to get it. So keep on fighting, be strong, be proud, be green, and let's seize a better future. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Justin. Justin's right. This was one of the key things that we wanted to get across today with or this year with this campaign. If you don't ask for what you want and you don't vote for what you want, you're never going to get what you want. So it is time to start seeding that message out to everybody, and I think we've done that in this campaign. So back to our live stream guests, we have really an honored guest here who has known Jill for such a long time, and many of you may have cast a vote for him back in 2016 when he was Jill's running mate. Please welcome the inimitable Ajamu Baraka.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jason. And let me say it's a pleasure and an honor to be part of this event this evening. I feel so proud of this party, and especially this campaign. And a special, of course, salute to our comrade, our friend, our leader, Jill Stein, for the courageous and principled campaign that she waged, her and Butch Ware this year. I think they represented the real potential of this party, and we saw the consequence in terms of the negative focus on the campaign, the desperate appeals coming from various places, including European Greens, asking the campaign to do something that was completely unacceptable and impossible to do, and that is to compromise one's principles. You see, when you compromise principle, you abandon principles. And the motivation for running these kinds of campaigns is the deep-seated belief in the possibility of democracy, the possibility and the reality of what people can do when they are organized, focused, and conscious. That's the aspirations of this party. That's the values of this campaign. And so all of us are proud of the fact that we adhere to those values and those principles. And that's why tonight we don't hang our heads, because we won. Anytime you're able to move the process of authentic democracy forward, then you have won. Anytime you have provided an opportunity for the people to express their values and principles, then you have won. You have fulfilled your responsibility as an individual and your responsibility as part of a collective movement toward social transformation. So we have nothing to feel bad about. I know that everyone on the campaign worked tremendously hard. I can only imagine the kind of rest that I know Jill has to take now. You know, it's on the campaign in 2016. I was amazed at her stamina, but that was what 8 years ago. So I can imagine the toll that this campaign has probably taken on Jill, and so Jill, get rest. You fought a courageous fight. We're all proud of you and are just happy to be part of this process. But as the previous speaker said, Justin, that the work continues. The work now is post-election. The work now is consolidating the gains of the party. It is strengthening the apparatus, okay, in a serious way, folks. You know, these campaigns have to be seen as part of a strategic objective to deepen the effectiveness of the party. Okay. And it means we have to be serious about looking at what we do well, but also looking seriously at some of the internal contradictions that have to be resolved. So let's do the work, folks. Let's take advantage of this campaign. Let's bring in the individuals who have been attracted to the campaign, who want to do something, and let's do this. And I'm up in here because I don't want to talk too long. It's not the night for Ajamu, but it's a night for the party and the campaign. Uh, let's make sure that we think about the party in a way in which the electoral element is connected to also the party becoming more deeply involved in the social and political struggles in the state, on the state level, local level, and on the national level. In other words, we have to think about how do we expand this party beyond just an electoral party? How do we deepen the party's relationship to social movements on a local level, on the state level? Okay. How do we ensure that we can attract people into the party that are who understand that the party is not just about running candidates, but it's about transforming society. It's about building something new in this country and in the world. So let's build this party as part of the social movement. And when we build the party in that way, we will be ensured that the ranks will expand and the forward momentum that we have seen generated by this campaign will continue. So thank you, everybody, for being part of this. Again, thank you, Jason, and everyone who's part of this process. You know, and let's continue to build, organize with the certainty, that we are in fact going to win. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ajamu. There's wisdom there. And that's it for our speakers. Ajamu closed it out. I did hear from Butch. He's unable to join us tonight. I want to say a couple words about Butch. It was a, how you call it, we joke about it. It was a shotgun marriage. We met this guy on social media, and the first thing I said about Butch was, he makes Jill better. You know, I mean, Jill's amazing, but when they're together, you know, he elevates her, and I can see that she elevates him, and this just seems like a match made in, well, wherever you believe. So we were just really honored to have Butch, proud to call him a friend, and he's a friend to everybody on the team. And is committed to building this movement for the future, just like Ajamu said. You know, we need to grow our state parties. We need your work. We need your time. We need your passion. And really the imperative upon us is that these two parties, these gasoline and nail polish remover parties, they're not serving anybody except themselves. They're not serving anybody except their corporate donors. And it's a recipe for disaster. We have disaster in front of us in so many ways right now. What's happening with the climate, what's happening with the economy. It's an amazing thing to see that every 4 years we get to say, is this the best we can do? Is this the best the two-party system has to offer us? And doesn't it get worse every 4 years? Every 4 years we say it could not possibly get worse, and 4 years later, here it is, it's worse. You know, and now to the point where it's not only worse, it's now worse plus genocide. You know, so we got to overthrow the system. We gotta fight for every vote. We got to run for every office. We got to get money out of politics. I do want everybody to understand that the root of all of this is corruption. It is corruption. It is corruption. It is the wealthy who if you some how do I want to articulate this? There's something that vast amounts of money does to people's consciences. There's something that vast amounts of money does to people's humanity. And when you start letting that infect your political system, it impacts all of us. And that's where we are in America. There is not a greater empire or a more corrupt empire that has existed on the face of this earth than what we are living in right now. And it's hard to recognize it when you're in it, right? You're like, really? But this is normal. Let me tell you something. This is not normal. This is not what humanity should be. We can do better. Let's build for that future. Please join your local Green Party. This campaign team, we made a commitment at the start that our work does not end tonight. Our work begins tomorrow. Okay? So with that, and let me say something else about Jill. For the people who are watching this online, it is approaching 11 p.m. Eastern time right now. We arrived in the building a little bit before 5 p.m., almost 6 hours ago. Jill has been doing non-stop, back-to-back interviews. So when Ajamu spoke about the energy that she had in 2016, I can only imagine, because here we are 8 years later, and she is just going like the Energizer Bunny. I don't know how she does it, but literally back to back to back. And we've still got some reporters lined up who want to talk to her probably until close to midnight. But I see her in the hall right here. It's absolutely amazing, the passion she has. And it really is, let me just say, it really is infuriating, absolutely infuriating, the character assassination that the Democratic Party has the absolute gall to throw down on Jill Stein. She is one of the most genuine, loving, humane people. She genuinely wants a better future. And to have these SOBs in the DNC who are career grifters, they are the grifters, career grifters, taking money from all the worst industries that are burning this planet down, and they have the nerve to take that word grifter and apply it to Jill. It is infuriating. So I want everybody who's watching out there to know, anytime you hear something come out of a Democrat's mouth that is a negative thing towards Jill Stein, you can be assured they are lying. Again, everything that the Democrats say about Jill is projection. It is projection, let me tell you. So it has been the honor of a lifetime to be the campaign manager for this campaign. It has been the honor of a lifetime to work with the wonderful people that I've worked with for the last year. And thank everybody so much for showing up in this room here in Dearborn, Michigan, where we would not be anywhere else to see these election returns tonight. One more time, free Palestine.